Live from London, it's Plank of the Week with Mike Graham.
Good evening and welcome to Plank of the Week. It's Friday night and this is the one show where you know we are going to be very, very judgmental. So if you don't like that, you might as well switch it off now. But you will like it. Jeremy Kyle is here. Peter Bleksley has returned from his forays into foreign parts. Rebecca Twomey's here. And Steve and Allen, welcome to all of you. Let's get right to it, Jeremy. You've got some kind of toddler for us first.
Well, this must be the first ever on Plank of the Week. This is a 3-year-old. This is, again, the stories. I mean, wow. A British toddler, my friends, was kicked out of a nursery school this week after being accused of being, what do you think, unruly, disrespectful?
At the age of 3?
Weeing its pants?
Weeing its pants?
Yeah,
ISIS
no.
member.
Maybe a number 2.
No, he hadn't had a wee. It was accused of being transphobic and homophobic at the age of 3. The name of the school, this is what I love, the Department of Education won't actually release the information because that would mean we'd all go around there and go, what sort of world are we living in?
Yes.
The DFE spokesman said, in our mind, all pupils and staff should feel safe and protected at school and should never face violence or abuse. Statistics, I said that well, 94 students at primary school have been suspended, this is between 3 and 7, or excluded for transphobia and homophobia. Now, obviously, I've got more kids than Boris Johnson, so obviously got a little bit of experience on this. 3.
Yeah.
That's just... I don't want to swear. It's total and utter tripe.
It's ridiculous.
My 3-year-old's trying to work out how to get out of... I mean, this is... How does a kid at 3 know about transphobia and homophobia? We are totally... I don't know what we're doing to kids. It's just madness. But when it goes into kids, this woke crap, we're in trouble, aren't we?
Well,
I want to know what the school is. I want to name the school as Plank of the Week.
Obviously, the problem is you'll have some overzealous teacher who's heard the 3-year-old saying something like, you look like a girl, or you look like a boy, or something like that.
Are you a girl?
Something really, really horrendously, disappointingly, insulting.
Yes.
And they've gone, well, that's transphobic. We've got a photo fit. Of the suspects, I think. Yeah, there you go.
So Stephen N. Allen.
I had this thought it would be like sort of Chucky or something. All these horrible little kids going around.
That's not a bad look, but on a serious note, right? The teacher, the school, this is ludicrous.
I know.
But you talk about like a young age. This only happened to me today on the way to the studio in this very building. I've told you this already. I'm in the lift.
Yeah.
Tell me what you think about this, Rebecca. This is how mad the world is. 2 men, am I allowed to say that? And a woman.
Yeah.
Doors open, floor 2. I said, ladies first. Looked at me like I'd literally got into her house on Christmas Day and weed on the kids. I don't even know what I'm supposed to do anymore. If we're starting this at 3, the world's gone nuts.
Yeah.
I can exclusively reveal that I know this school.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I know the circumstances around it.
You're doing it with that grin on your eyes again, Bleksley. It just doesn't wash. That suit's awful, by the way.
What happened?
It's very good.
It's very good. It's Logan very good.
Yeah.
Have you been paid to wear that? Or
This 3-year-old said to the teacher, "Sir, why are you wearing a dress?"
Yes.
And that's what
that would
led
do
to
it, actually.
Yeah.
I mean, you jest, but I mean, that probably would get you
Thinking
suspended
jest, I'm
and
thinking kids
expelled.
entertainer in that suit, don't you think? Roll up, PB's in town. But anyway, the school, the teacher, the whole mad thing, planks, ridiculous,
I know.
crazy.
But don't you think, not that I completely agree with this, but excluding a child for not having the right views, whatever you think the right views the Department of Education deem them to be, wouldn't it be better to educate, if that's what their agenda is, if we want people to not be transphobic and to be more open-minded and not bigoted, whatever label you want to give it, how about educating them, but instead excluding children for these accusations?
I mean, that's very moral and far better than I am, because here's what I'm going to say. A 3-year-old kid, we over-sexualise our kids, we do everything. Yeah. The kid's 3, for Christ's sake. It doesn't even know how to pull its own nappy pants or whatever up. It's not transphobic.
I mean, presumably
it's growing
there'll
as
be
an
other
individual.
children in some of these schools who'll be identifying as cats and goats. And
I mean, that's the thing. Like, my 3-year-old spent the day thinking he was a horse. But not in I need some therapy about this.
He thought he was a horse?
Well, he pretended to be a horse for a while, didn't he? Which actually will come on later on. He's probably got a career in politics for the
he probably has.
But
is he still quite stable, or is he worried?
We'll save that for later. But honestly, my 3-year-old struggles to work out, because now we've got another one, a sister. He doesn't quite understand the distribution of dinkies and minkies. And, that's exactly the dinky and the minky.
What's the dinky and the minky?
Well, the dinky's the one... I can't believe I've got to teach you men of the world. The dinky is the one that the boys have, and the minky is the one that the ladies have.
I've never heard it
Not
called that.
necessarily.
Dinky and the minky?
Not necessarily.
I
You see,
remember when women had wombs.
You and your transphobia, right? You keep your transphobia down
There was
that
an
end of
American
the
comedian.
say
He
minkies first.
used to say, "Minky, you mean kiss my minky." Do you remember him? Who was that? There was an American comedian.
heard by the
He used to be on Saturday Night Live.
Gary Glitter.
Yeah, it wasn't him. No, definitely not. Anyway, over to you, Peter. You've got a story about the Hertfordshire Police.
Yes,
Is it
I
going to
have.
be very good?
If you've ever wondered what it's like to spend a considerable number of hours in a police cell, okay, go to Hertfordshire and don't break the law.
Yes.
Because then what will probably happen is that the police will turn up, arrest you, and put you in a cell.
If you don't break
for
If you
about-
don't
for
break
about
the
8
law.
hours.
If you commit absolutely
Yeah.
no crime
Yes.
whatsoever.
Yes.
Because there's a couple from Hertfordshire who were complaining about the recruitment process of a senior member of staff at the school. They were also very unhappy with the way their daughter, who had a disability, was being treated. So in email exchanges with the school and in a WhatsApp group, they expressed their disquiet about the aforementioned
in a pretty
matters.
normal manner. It wasn't in any way extremist or nasty or sweary or anything like that.
Well, Hertfordshire Constabulary have been a judge of that, thank you.
Well,
Mr.
exactly.
Graham.
Well, let's have a look at what Maxie Allen had to say. He, unfortunately for the Hertfordshire Police, turns out to be a producer at Times Radio, so I'm afraid they've ended up all over the papers. Have a look at this.
6 police officers came to my house and arrested me. Why? Because I'd been talking about my daughter's school on a WhatsApp group. It was the morning of Wednesday, the 29th of January, about 11:45. I was on a Zoom call for a work project, when on my Zoom screen, in the little window where I saw my own face, I realised that 2 police officers were standing behind me. Another 2 police officers were arresting my partner, Rosalind, in front of Francesca, our 3-year-old daughter. They bundled us into the police cars and took us off to custody at Stevenage Police Station, where we remained for the next 12 hours. He arrested me on suspicion of harassment and malicious communications, and it was to do with a dispute with our daughter's primary school, which began with posts on a WhatsApp group.
Hard to believe, isn't it? And only yesterday, I think it was, the boss of the Hertfordshire Police, I can't remember what his name is, he said, I think we did the right thing. He actually doubled down and said, we maybe should have done it differently. Maybe we should have arrested them with a few more plainclothes police. But he still thinks it was the right thing to do.
But as if you need to be undercover for that operation as well. Let's send in some undercover... Clearly, you shouldn't send 6 police for that, because some of them are needed to arrest 3-year-olds who are being transphobic
Exactly
somewhere.
right.
Let's get this...
Am I really old-fashioned? I know we talk about this a lot. There's people being murdered, there's women being raped, there's businesses being ransacked, and they're wasting officers on that crap. It's ridiculous, man. It's never going to get
And they
any
then
better.
investigated it for 5 weeks, didn't they?
Dropped it,
Only to discover that then actually there was no point in proceeding.
No crime was committed whatsoever.
Right.
So I'm going to Hertfordshire this weekend. I'm just going to wander around the street saying, I'm not committing any crime, and wait for the police to rock up and shove me in the poke.
It's hardly surprising the British public are losing faith in the police.
Yeah.
Are we in North Korea? Because who snitched? That's what I want to know.
Yes.
Because somebody in a private WhatsApp
It's the same
group...
teacher that snitched about the 3-year-old.
Exactly, but were there teachers in this WhatsApp group? Because somebody
I don't think they were,
snitched
but I
and
think
complained.
it's somebody in the group. Obviously, was a quizzling of some kind. But also, the emails, I guess, were reported because this is the other problem we've got now, that teachers can say to the police, "I feel threatened." Because I'm being, I'm
harassed.
I'm the victim of harassment.
I'm alarmed.
And so they then say, oh, well, in that case, that fits the definition of harassment. Therefore, I'm going to go and arrest these people.
If that fits the definition of harassment, people should look at the comment section on this show, and I think we could all call the police. Because it's going to be a lot stronger than they are.
Yeah, absolutely. Should have heard what we were saying about you earlier.
You were being mega
that wasn't going well.
Is that the police?
But, the other problem is that they also warned off an MP, Oliver Dowden, who was the MP for the area, who also got involved. He was told by the police that he should back off, right? A member of of Parliament. They also told a councillor not to get involved in the case because they might also then be sort of scooped up in this massive, crackdown on crime. There must be not much going on in Hertfordshire.
200 years ago, when Sir Robert Peel started the Metropolitan Police, he wrote 9 principles of policing. They are as apposite and relevant and apt today as they were all those years ago. One of them is that the police are the public and the public are the police. In other words, police are drawn from the public, so therefore they'll represent the views and perhaps and the outlooks of the public. Not anymore. They're all university educated Marxist, liberal, woke, fluffy buffoons.
Exactly right.
Who couldn't catch a cold.
I know, absolutely extraordinary stuff. And there's also somebody completely apropos of nothing, not in Hertfordshire, I don't think, but there was another case at the weekend of a woman who was cautioned because she was apprehended moving in a particular manner in the woods, picking up mushrooms.
Sorry.
Huh?
She was what?
I've observed you. Sorry, I'm trying to do a police voice in front of a police.
It wasn't dogging or anything. She was just picking mushrooms.
She was picking mushrooms, which is not, as far as I know, illegal.
She wasn't smoking them.
She wasn't smoking them.
No.
She was
If
just
you're
picking
dogging
them.
and mainly you're collecting mushrooms, it's not good quality dogging.
No, it's really not.
They
You could
might not be good quality mushrooms.
You combine
to
the
be
two,
fair.
I suppose, if you had quite a lot of time on your hands. But, you know, anyway, but they're arresting people for ridiculous things. What's wrong with them?
Anybody with any intricate knowledge of drugs will tell you that you harvest the proper mushrooms at the first frost in the autumn.
Is that right?
Yeah, not in spring.
Oh, OK. Well, I don't know what she was harvesting
for the accuracy.
Maybe she just wanted to make a mushroom omelette. I don't know. Anyway, watch out for the spotted ones, is what I say. You know, the toadstools, because they can be poisonous.
Yeah.
My ex-wife
Is that like spotted dick?
Something like that, yeah. My ex-wife once bought me a foraging book, and I thought that was the point. The marriage was over.
Can I tell you?
Anyway.
I consider you one of my dearest friends. You don't need to be taught to forage.
No, indeed. Rebecca, over to you. You've got somebody called Dion de Groot, which is a great name.
It is a great name.
Worthy of inclusion just for that alone.
Well, I thought this was actually an April Fool's.
No.
But it's not. This actually happened where this gentleman has been banned for 3 months from the county of Cambridgeshire.
Oh, yeah.
Now, on the topic of crime, what crime do we think someone would need to commit to be banned from an entire county? You'd think something quite serious.
You'd think it would be something that he kept doing. repeatedly.
Defecating on the council house roof.
Well, the Easter
Not
Bunny
quite.
would have something to say about this because he was arrested because he was found to have stolen £200 worth of Creme Eggs.
Creme Eggs?
That is a real crime. I'm amazed that the police managed to arrest him.
And there's one
Contraband.
of them. Is that stolen from the police evidence room?
I might have met Dion a bit earlier. There you go, Governor.
thank
There's
you.
yours.
Look at that.
Can we
One for
change
you,
this
Mr.
show and
Kyle.
just
Very good.
show how
One for you, Steve.
we just do a
thank you
whole
very much.
segment.
Last but not least.
Well, I can't leave
thank
this working.
you.
I can't speak.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Let's just do it. Let's
All
just
right,
do a
you're
segment
gonna
on
eat
how
them.
you eat your cabbage.
OK, go on then.
I can't.
No.
With the wrapper on.
It's not that kind of show. Anyway, listen, we've got a bit of video of how he was caught, Mr. de Groot. Have a look. They're just opening his jacket. He's got a load of cream eggs inside the anorak. What? He's not exactly a master criminal, this guy de Groot, is he? Unbelievable.
Well, 200 quid's worth, that's not a lot these days, is it?
Yeah. Also, he's not very bright, because surely if you were nicking cream eggs, you just nick them like that,
Well,
as
yeah,
opposed to in a packet. You'd get more
that's
inside the
it.
jacket,
Do you like
that way, wouldn't you? I don't mind them. You know, in Glasgow, they deep fry them. Which is actually really good. Yeah, deep fried Cadbury's cream egg is actually quite
You all right
tasty.
there? Having a nice... You can't
Yeah,
speak.
I'm not going to
have
eat
a
mine because
sugar
you won't be able to
high.
speak, obviously.
Yeah.
But I think if he'd actually stolen £200 of cash from the till,
Yeah.
I mean, it is Tesco as well, and they have a lot of cash to burn.
Yeah.
I know it's.
You wouldn't get
there's a right
banned
and
from
wrong,
the whole county, would you?
But exactly, this
What would
is
have
what's
happened
so
to him in
extreme.
Hertfordshire?
Oh, God.
Yeah, we would never. He'd be life imprisonment.
never
Rebecca,
again.
you tried being a small shopkeeper and someone nicks 200
But
quid's
it's
worth of
Tesco.
gear out your
It's
shop.
Tesco.
Yeah, I know, but even so, it's the principle. Theft is theft.
Well,
I'd
I'm soft-centred.
Yeah.
Boom.
You go,
Really?
I think if someone is in a position where they're stealing that much chocolate, they're either so desperate, have diabetes,
Or
or
they're on
really
drugs.
need our help. Yeah, like that's how I see it. And
No,
I think
I don't think so. No, I think he's
they're
been
not
deported.
diabetes.
If he's from Denmark, right?
He's a criminal.
Oh, is
Kick
he?
him out.
From Denmark,
Well, or he's Dutch or something. De Groot.
Yeah.
He's not
Or
from
give him a
Denmark.
job running GB Energy. That's the same
Yeah,
name.
that's
isn't
it. Yeah.
Jurgen de
Jurgen.
Groot.
You can help Jurgen out with GP Energy. Absolutely right. Steve and Alan, over to you.
Which one shall you want me to tackle first?
Ed Davey.
Ed Davey. All right.
Yeah.
We all remember Ed Davey did his election campaign by going on log flumes and
Yeah.
water slides. He's not messing with that anymore. He's way beyond that. He's now prancing around on a hobby horse because that's how you launch your local election campaign. He's not even good at that as well.
No.
I mean, if you see it, he managed to clip one of the fences.
Yeah.
If he were an actual horse, they would have shot him. And yet this is how they managed to do a political
Yeah,
campaign.
let's have a look. We've got the video. It's absolutely hopeless. Look at him. This is actually happening in Westminster, right? This is what he thinks. We haven't got any sound on it, I don't think, have we?
No,
But
we
he actually
break that
misses
out,
one here. Look at that. I think it's that one. Yeah, he knocks that one off. And he's just laughing. I mean, this is a guy who wants to be taken seriously in politics.
But this is the worry about it. It kind
Is
of
there a
works.
refusal? No.
What he did. What he did with the election
wrong with him?
campaign. What he did with the election campaign worked, and I worry that this means, if you go forward 30 years, this will all be politics is. They've realised, let's get Keir Starmer slapping himself in the face with a cream pie.
This will be the most serious I've been all day.
Yeah.
That idiot won 72 seats, which says everything about the last election. All he did, but that's that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
He wanted the leader of a...
I know.
Well, who would vote for that? I mean,
They did.
Lib
He won
Dems.
72 seats.
Lib
him and his
Dems.
Cupid stunts.
Yeah, it really is absolutely unbelievable.
Very.
What's he going to do next? Because what he's also realised is that since he did win 72 seats, nobody's paying any attention to him. So he's now addicted to attention, and this is the only way he can get it.
It's kind of like that MTV show Jackass. Do you remember that? Where
I
they
do
used to
remember
throw
that.
themselves off buildings.
Yeah. Well, maybe you could try that. Start getting a bit more hardcore.
Yeah.
I remember some of the things Jackass did. I mean, I'd quite like to see how Davey doing those, actually. That would be quite good. Got another clip on that one as well. This went viral this week. This is a policewoman secretly filmed riding a rocking horse in somebody's back garden. Now, this was an investigation that was going on. She found herself into the back garden where obviously there was a child's rocking horse. And she just sat there. I think she's smoking a cigarette as well.
I thought it was cutbacks, like that's the
Mountain
Yeah.
Bike.
I think she's got two phones. One's a burner phone. I think she's doing drug deals while she's riding that horse.
I mean, it's like you wouldn't know. There was another piece of footage, wasn't there, of another police officer peeing in somebody's back garden the other day. I mean, the standard seems to have dropped massively.
You imagine being a colleague of that on a rocking horse.
I know.
Perhaps you're inside the building dealing with a burglary or something,
Yeah.
and you come out and that clown is sitting there.
Yeah,
What would you have said?
She'd be directing traffic the following day.
yeah. Exactly right. Well, listen, it's a very good start. It's a very eclectic start. Coming up, I'm going to do my first one, and it's got something to do with immigration and the small boats, believe it or not. Also, there's going to be another MP in the firing line who wants to build an airport, but not in Britain. This is Plank of the Week.
Live from London, it's Plank of the Week with Mike Graham.
Welcome back to Plank of the Week. Everybody's enjoying their cream eggs by the looks of it, so they'll all be quiet for a bit. There won't no more talking over each other. This is obviously the answer for how we get people to shut up on Plank of the Week. I'm going to go with Yvette Cooper, the Home Secretary. I'll start off with a little clip from her in Parliament. Oh, sorry, actually, no, this is on the BBC, talking about why so many people are coming here on the small boats.
Why do you think what you've tried so far doesn't appear to be working?
Our border security ends up being dependent on the weather, and we cannot continue like this,
But the question
where the
here is-
number of calm days affects the number of crossings
But the question
and
here
affects
is,
our border
but the question
security
here
as
is
well.
why do you think what you've done in the last 9 months isn't yet working?
Yes, apparently it's down to the weather.
Because it's just March, just April,
Yeah.
right, isn't it? Because
Yeah.
it's been
The
really
weather's been
sunny
awful.
and calm, hasn't it? What a load of old
Right.
tosh. They haven't got a plan.
Although, no, of
Never
course
had
they
one.
haven't got a plan. And also, unbelievably, within 10 months of being the Prime Minister, Keir Starmer is now the leading Prime Minister at not stopping the boats.
Yep.
He's done a worse job than Rishi Sunak, a worse job than Boris Johnson, a worse job than every other previous Prime Minister of the country. And he is now the number... It's the only thing he's number one at, by the way, is
Letting illegal.
the non-stopping of the boats.
Yeah,
free
yeah.
suits. He's number one at free suits, surely.
I think that's true.
He might be number one at
Yeah.
free suits. That's very possibly
play.
true.
This government smashes more avocados than it does gangs.
Yeah, I mean, they can't literally smash anything. They're completely and utterly useless. But so much has happened in the past week on this story because we've seen the Sun's had a pretty good campaign on, the broken borders of this country.
Yep.
They've had Albanians coming in, basically cheering and waving as they come into Dover, basically saying, this is the land of plenty. We're all coming here because we can get free food, free hotel rooms, and nobody cares what happens. We found out as well that I think the most number of migrants ever has come in the first 6 months, or the first three months of this year.
30,000 since he took
and
power.
30,000 since he took over. And here's Keir Starmer, once again, being completely disingenuous. And I mean, you could make him the plank, but I'm going to make it Yvette Cooper because of that weather comment. But have a look at this. Now, Keir Starmer is either completely deluded or he's just a liar. Make your mind up.
Or both.
Yeah, or both.
The UK has reset its entire approach to international collaboration, and it's beginning to bear fruit, working with the authorities in Albania and Vietnam on campaigns to deter those who are thinking about making that perilous journey.
He's going to stop people thinking about it,
Yeah.
but he's not going to stop the people who are actually coming.
Yeah.
The people who are actually arriving, who've already thought about it and paid some money to somebody, or have just been allowed to come.
How do you stop someone thinking about things? Just distract them?
Yeah.
Just give them a math
Yeah,
puzzle.
yeah. Give him a Sudoku or give him one of those Rubik's cubes and go, have a look at that.
Didn't you have
while you're
time to think about it?
But you know what? They did this ridiculous immigration summit where they invited people from 40 countries.
This is the best line that Mike Graham ever came out with.
Only the Labour government could actually have an immigration summit about people coming to this country by inviting more people to come from other countries.
Who all brought their friends and family and all claimed political immunity, so another 1,000
and they'll probably all stay. But he only had it for... He made a speech and then he disappeared off.
He likes a committee and a quango and a
they had it for
conference,
2 days, and then he went off and had another meeting about a Netflix drama called Adolescence, which he thinks is so good that it should be shown in every school, even though it's a 15, and actually can't be shown to most children without their parental consent.
I bet he popped back for the buffet.
I bet he
the
did.
buffet was lavish.
I bet he did.
They always are.
You know, if they think that the weather is our best method of security, then they need to stop net zero. They want the opposite, don't they?
Right.
If you keep pumping more carbon into the atmosphere, get some of these extreme weather things, you're going to blow people back.
That's absolutely...
Or you could just stop making it so easy to come here and get everything the British people can't get.
Make the channels.
Or turn the boats back.
Yeah.
See, the French this week said, I know you're giving us $500 million.
You stinking English.
You stinking English. We need to do more. Yeah, we need to give you the money. Honestly, it does my head in. It's like the worst thing in my life, this,
Or
right?
doing anything,
We're as soft as apps. I'm sorry, Chuck, you can bleep that. We're as soft as shite, and we do nothing for our own people. It's disgusting.
It is ridiculous.
It's awful.
Totally ridiculous. And it's not getting any better. But again,
Priorities.
Keir Starmer keeps telling us that he's getting somewhere. That
Not a penny on
He actually
council
said,
tax.
not a penny more. And then he said, another speech he made, where we've arrested some bloke in Amsterdam who was in possession of boat parts.
No,
I don't know what boat
we've
parts
arrested
are.
somebody in Hertfordshire who's been 200 cream eggs.
Napoleon Boat Part was his name. I mean, nobody knows what he's doing. All we know is that it's a complete failure.
I think he's in love with being Prime Minister already, actually, very quickly at 10 months in. I think he loves it.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any substance. I don't believe they've got a plan to finish the boat.
No.
And Mrs. Balls, that wasn't very impressive, was it?
Really,
By the way,
really,
that winds
really
her up
bad.
if you call her Mrs. Balls.
She doesn't like that.
No, Yvette Balls.
You know, when you hear of people being in possession of boat parts, someone needs to shout Rolex.
Yeah.
It feels like it's the solid guess, isn't it?
Yes.
It's not the part they're after, but at least you get to shout something.
Yeah, I mean, this is the thing. And also, nobody ever knows the answer to any question that you ask anyone about this stuff. Like, what happens to the dinghies? You know, when they get out of the dinghy, where does it go? You know,
when it comes to
taken somewhere?
When it comes to boat parts, I've met a few in my time.
Dear me. Thank you very much for that. Perhaps we should move on.
Why does he get away with it?
I don't
he
know.
used to be a copper.
I think so.
You're going to get 15 years for that.
Yeah.
Seemed human being. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you. This man has to be high on the list. Labour MP Tahir Ali, who represents the people of Birmingham, who, by the way, are about to face the biggest increase of any council tax of any council in the United Kingdom. Already, it's so bad, and I used to work there. The rubbish is all strewn. There's giant rats the size of cats. They're having a real hard time. A bit like Brighton used to be, Birmingham. So this man, you would think your local MP is going to fight hard to deal with... No. He is advocating and has been leading a campaign for the support and our money to build a new airport in Pakistan.
Yeah.
That's what he's been doing.
Because apparently lots of his constituents go back to Pakistan on a regular basis.
Not that they can get out the front door to go to the airport because the rubbish is blocking their way out. But he didn't give a toss about that. He cares about this.
Yeah.
Robert Jenrick, who's suddenly become the voice of reason for the Tories, he's leading the battle charge in almost every way, said, you're an MP for Birmingham, not Mipure. The streets of your city are literally piled high with rubbish thanks to your council. Focus on the UK, you useless whatever.
Absolutely.
What is wrong with these people?
I know. But it's not just him. There's a whole bunch of other MPs who have also signed the petition for them to get this done. And one of them, I think, is Stella Creasy, who I don't think has got any necessarily...
Stella who?
Stella Creasy. Yeah. Who hasn't, I don't think, got any constituents that want to go back and forth to Pakistan.
There is a compromise that I've heard people talk about, that we can help build an airport there as long as it only has an arrivals section.
Yeah.
That might help.
What, so they can just go there and not come back?
That's brilliant.
That is very good.
I like that. I'll give money.
But do you know the reason why apparently he wants the airport to be built? And because apparently some of the people that go back to Pakistan have to drive for 3 hours to get to the airport. Well, people have to do that in this country. I'm sorry.
You didn't tell me that bit when you go, that's just...
You know, if you live in Cornwall and you're flying somewhere from Heathrow...
Sorry to all the pensioners are freezing to death this winter, by the way, but don't worry. If you fly to Pakistan, you won't have to travel for 3 hours. What a load of rubbish.
It's unbelievable, isn't it? And apparently, this is the other thing that people are getting really, really cheesed off about, is that, why on earth is he signing this petition along with loads of other Labour MPs, who are all against, by the way, the expansion of Heathrow. They've all said, we don't want you to build a third runway at Heathrow, but you can build an airport in Pakistan, an entire airport.
But if you were
What about
flying into
hypocrisy?
Heathrow and you couldn't get in, so we'll build it's about 3 hours to Birmingham. It's the same as the problem in Pakistan, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Well, that's if the trains run. This is the thing. It's like he hasn't thought about any of the infrastructure.
Don't talk about trains.
The trains, I bet the trains...
Will get upset.
The trains in Pakistan are probably better
trigger warning.
than the trains here.
Yes.
I mean, as most countries' trains run better than ours do.
Yes.
You know?
I just think it's unbelievable. That just about, to me, sums up most politicians. They seem to be interested only in themselves. Their priorities are wrong. They don't have any idea what people are saying.
Let's have a look at what Lee Anderson had to say today.
We have Birmingham Labour MPs campaigning for a new airport in Pakistan. Meanwhile, we have rats the size of cats in Birmingham feasting on a month's worth of rubbish courtesy of the trade union friends of the party opposite. Simple question to the Minister. When is this rubbish going to be cleared?
Very good question, and nobody knows the answer to it.
Yeah.
We've got a piece of information for you, though, on the Birmingham bin crisis. Have a look at this.
Is this Birmingham's biggest mound of rubbish? Ian says he's having to close his windows because of the stench.
We didn't have any rats until this lot appeared. Now we've got them having parties on the grass.
Every corner we're finding even bigger mounds of rubbish. Residents say this one's been here for 3 months. It's 5 feet tall, maybe 50 feet long, completely blocking the pavement. And with temperatures rising, it stinks as well. Residents are furious and say desperate times call for desperate measures.
What's that, Birmingham? The bloke that was interviewed
I know.
He said it ain't great up here, mate, is it? This guy, all right, it's still very good, the rubbish.
I was expecting a Birmingham accent. Didn't hear one.
No.
No, but I mean, that's definitely Birmingham, because that's where all the rubbish
Stinks.
is. Do you remember back in the 70s when Leicester Square was completely piled high with black bin bags?
The winter of discontent.
Winter of discontent. I mean, this has got the same feel to it to me. This is going to happen in other parts of the country.
We were talking about this before the election, and everybody was poo-pooing it. In 79, what happened was every single trade union went, I want 30% rise. And if they didn't get it from the Labour government who were promising their paymasters, they went on strike. And there were green goddesses for ambulances that was rubbish all over the streets. Going the same way. Absolutely going the same way.
I mean, we spoke to somebody from Unite, the union, earlier on this week, who basically said, I said, how long have you actually been on strike for? And he went, since the beginning of January. So people, bin men haven't been working for 3 months. I mean, it's no wonder the place stinks. It's horrendous.
But you see, this government have caved into so many wage demands.
Of course they have.
The unions, of course, are going to do exactly the same.
They always will. That is the problem.
If you get some baggage handlers, you get those bins put on one of those aeroplanes that they're going to be sending. And again, we've solved another problem here.
There you go.
Well thought out, isn't it?
It is very well thought out. There's a lot of synergy here in the room.
I like that word.
Peter Bleksley, over to you. That nice man who used to be the Archbishop of Canterbury.
Oh.
Why is it that almost every kind of aspect of British life seems to promote the absolute planks into the very highest position? My nomination is the former Archbishop of Canterbury, Justin Welby, who had to resign in disgrace because he'd let so many rotten, stinking paedophiles get away with abuse on his watch.
One of them was his mate.
Or he hadn't done sufficient work to ensure that they were getting rooted out and nicked and put in jail where they belong.
Yes.
So he resigns because of all of that. And then you'd think maybe when you've resigned in disgrace, wouldn't you just quietly go away to tend to your rhododendrons and have a quiet life and keep out of the media? No. He's got such a huge ego, right? He lumps up on the BBC being interviewed by Laura Koonsberg.
That's right, just last Sunday. One of the worst shows I think I've ever seen.
Yeah, and there he is, spouting all his self-righteous bile.
Yeah.
Amongst it all, she asked him whether he'd forgive one of these serial paedophile offenders.
Yeah.
And, of course, instead of him saying, well, actually, it's not my place to forgive because it's the victims that...
I mean, he did sort of mention that, but he still went on to then do it, didn't he?
Yeah, exactly. When it really, really was not his place. And he came across as such a numpty, and I wish he'd just shut his trap and disappear off to his back garden.
Yeah.
That bloke abused 130 kids, and Welby thinks it's okay to say God or whatever has forgiven him. What about those kids whose lives are blighted? He shouldn't be. That's just again, isn't it?
Well, he also, in the interview, said he was overwhelmed by, I did Oh, you're the victim here, right? It must have been so tough for you to do nothing. Literally, I don't know how he managed to do nothing when all the reports are coming in. You can't get a train without say it's sorted being crammed down your face, and that's the one thing he could have done. He was seeing stuff. He wasn't saying it to anyone, and it didn't get sorted.
Exactly right.
And when he resigned, I don't know if anyone remembers that speech.
Yes.
He said, it's been a terrible week for my secretary because all his meetings, all the work that we've done. That combined with this interview, it's like he needs to just be told to stop talking.
Yeah.
The only voices that matter are the victims.
I'm glad you raised that, because I remember when he made his resignation speech in the House of Lords, and he was trying to be funny. And it was like, this is not funny, mate. You know, you should not be making a joke about this. And he talks about, as you say, his secretary having a bad week, and, you know, sort of things, a lot of worse things have happened to me than this, and lots of terrible things happened in the world, making out like it wasn't a big deal.
Yeah, like downplaying it, because it was he didn't want to have responsibility, because it was under his watch, and he didn't do anything. Yeah. And that's why it's that thing of, like, he can't hold accountability.
I mean, there are some people, and Peter, you might be one of them, who would say, surely he is now probably the sort of person that should be subject to some kind of criminal investigation. Because if he knew crimes were being committed and he did nothing...
Wasn't it proven
surely...
that the guy would have not got away with as much as he got away with if Welby had opened his trap sooner? Wasn't that said at the time?
Definitely.
The criminal offence of misconduct in public office is a very unusual crime, because with that charge, doing nothing is a crime.
Yes.
Of course, the question around that, I think, would probably be, is the Archbishop of Canterbury a public office?
Yes.
Because
well, I think it is, isn't it?
Well,
I mean, it's not
doing nothing is a crime. It's a shame itself it wasn't in Hertfordshire.
Well,
he'd been arrested.
Absolutely right.
Fair.
But we used to call him Archbishop Welby, because he was always sticking his nose into matters where he wasn't really...
And sort of missing massively fundamental things, like people you know are abusing kids.
Yeah, right. I mean, he would have a go at Tories, for example. At one point, I think he once said
Rwanda
that Tories were not... God more or less didn't approve of Tories, or if you believed in God, how could you be a Tory? All this kind of stuff, you know, and that, you know, we should be welcoming more migrants into Britain, even though the Church of England owns so much property and has never, ever offered to house any migrants in any of their properties.
But I have to say...
The guy's a complete hypocrite.
Yeah, and anybody who dresses up in some of that clobber that he wore, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Together with a shepherd's crook, and to my knowledge, he doesn't own one sheep.
No.
You know what I mean?
That's a bit worrying, isn't it?
That's a daft look, in my opinion.
Well, the bishops in general are a bit strange. I mean, I think I've told this story before. I was down the House of Lords once, and waiting to meet somebody in the bar, and suddenly this door opened, and, you know, it's all wood panels, so you can't... It's like these secret doors, you know, where they're going to open. And this secret door opened, and all these bishops came out of it, and there was literally 6 or 7 of them, and they have their own room where they sit, and they're all dressed up to the nines, and they go into the chamber.
You sure it wasn't allegedly a sex chamber somewhere?
Well, no, that's apparently in Portcullis House. That's a different place.
I dropped that.
You know, journalists have found traces of cocaine throughout the houses.
Absolutely,
you know? Just saying.
Yeah, I'm not sure the bishops could be had that laid at their...
Let's not bash the bishops.
Let's not do that. It's very good. I see what you did there. Now, coming up, we're going to talk about a popular and well-known DIY shop. Also, a well-known museum, which is in the deep stuff as well. This is Plank of the Week.
Live from London, it's Plank of the Week with Mike Graham.
Welcome back to Plank of the Week. We're very, very nearly in the last final quarter, shall we say, if we were playing an American football game, but we're not. It's Plank of the Week, so I don't know why I said that. Rebecca Twomey is here. B&Q, what's going on there?
Yes. B&Q staff, if they need some training, what do you think they should be trained in? Perhaps DIY?
But a lot of old people work at B&Q, don't they? Because they've got a mission to try and include more sort of elderly people who have nothing better to do.
They've also started paying them more, which is, you know, to be applauded. Yeah. But when they have their training, remember they've got to have a 30-page manual on how to speak to people with inclusivity.
A 30-page manual?
Yeah, 30 pages saying...
Blimey.
Don't use offensive language that could exclude certain groups. Make sure you reference Ramadan, Diwali, you know, make sure you're inclusive.
What if you're just looking for a couple of screws?
No, because if they're deaf or blind, you might offend them if you, for some reason, say you were blind drunk.
Who's blind drunk in B&Q?
Well, you'd hope,
I wonder about.
You'd hope no one was.
If you are buying 2 planks and some nails, it's definitely a Christian thing.
Yeah.
That's what... you know what you're doing.
Yeah, especially around Easter.
That's what I've got planned.
But you're not allowed to... You know, there's no guidance on mentioning Easter or Christmas or Christianity, but this is a DIY store. Let's just look at the real... Right. If you want to help all sorts of customers, how about DIY classes, and perhaps, you could help people, actually be useful.
Because, I don't wish to be in any way unkind to elderly members of the public, but whenever I've been in B&Q and I've asked an old person there for help, they've never been able to help me because I don't know anything about DIY.
Most
basically,
of us don't.
I don't know. I couldn't tell you a screw from a nut or a bolt. I've no idea. But I occasionally would get sent there to buy things, and I would never know what to buy.
No, I got the greatest ever call. This is a genuine thing on the show this week about this very story. It was a guy from Gloucester, a blind guy. This is genuinely true, and he was absolutely raging.
I heard that.
And he went and he said, honestly, I went to my local B&Q, right? And I'll tell you what their problem is. The disabled toilet has a broken door and has had it for 4 months. And you would have thought in a shop of tradespeople, they'd have sorted it. And he was, you heard the call, he was just like, can you please stuff it? There's more important things. We judge that it's ridiculous.
But like, if you're blind and someone says blind drunk, you won't be any more offended than when someone describes a tyre as being bald. I don't go, how very dare you?
Yeah. I know. Let's have a look at B&Q before they went woke. This is an old B&Q ad.
Neighbours with a long way to go. B&Q it. Lighting what you glow. B&Q it. You can do it when you B&Q it. Power to see you through. B&Q it. Make it good as new. B&Q it. You can do it when you B&Q it. Making bath time fun. B&Q it. Seeing a job well done. B&Q it. You can do it when you B&Q it.
Simpler times, really, weren't they? You just does what it says on the tin.
You can do it when you B&Q it.
Does what it says on the tin.
When you could get blind drunk on a Friday after a tough week.
Go into B&Q, buy a load of stuff.
It's like going in there and trying to order some Venetian not seeing very wells.
Yeah, I know.
You need the words sometimes, don't you?
Yeah, I don't know how they've managed to fill 30 pages.
Also there's things like don't use patronising language. For me, please patronise me with DIY.
Right.
I don't know. I would love to learn more. So I think there's just a really strange...
Would you really like to... I'm patronised myself. Do you really want to know about...
I'd like to put some shelves.
No, I was brought up by an old man who called an electrician to change the light bulb.
Yeah,
Wouldn't
exactly.
believe in it. I'm not doing that.
I don't put up shelves.
No, not
dangerous. Just don't do it.
Dangerous.
Yeah.
The war office.
I can just about put together an IKEA bookshelf. Only if it's very straight, but only a Billy one, right?
We've got a perfect match.
Anything more complicated than that, I don't do it.
Christmas Day. You typically, don't get offended. The man makes the toys and the woman. No, it's completely the other way around.
Yeah.
As Vic does all, I can't do any of that.
I just go and do the cooking. We got some bunk beds once when I was married for the kids, right?
For us.
So complicated. They were so complicated. My wife and her mother put them together. They were literally in a bedroom for about 9.5 hours while I was looking after the kids and cooking for them.
What a wonderfully quiet time you had.
I had a great time. So if you want to shut anybody up, just buy some bunk beds from IKEA. It'll take them ages to sort them out. Anyway, absolutely ridiculous. Mr. Steve N. Allen, London Museum.
London Museum, which used to be called the Museum of London, so that was worth changing its name.
They've changed it?
Yeah.
Why?
Thank heavens. I don't know, maybe it saves them 2 letters. I really don't know why they bothered. But anyway, this museum, it's got a system in place. There's a leaflet that's been handed out to train their staff how to identify the problem of whiteness.
Yeah.
Now, I remember when you could say...
Is this like a B&Q paint problem?
That's...
Embedded whiteness.
The embedded whiteness, which sounds more fun, doesn't it?
That sounds like one of those new paints, doesn't it?
Like you can't buy white for a card.
Can I buy some embedded white paint?
Some white. Yeah, embedded whiteness, like duck shell. But... it used to be that racism was bad, but now they've redefined it so that whiteness is bad.
Yes.
If you work there and you're white, you're turning up and you're the problem.
You're already in trouble.
What are you meant to do? Black up? I presume that's frowned upon.
No, you can't do that. No.
Exactly. So, and there is a definition. They don't just mean whiteness as the colour. Apparently, by their definition, whiteness is a system of thinking that can perpetuate inequality. That's not what the word whiteness means, is it?
Not really.
Do you know, I just quite... I'm just being honest. All of this stuff, right? We talk about migration and people who come to this country.
Yeah.
This is what worries me, right, where we're at. So many people want to come to Great Britain because apparently we're this and we're that and we're fantastic.
A beacon
and then they
of
spend
freedom.
their entire time slagging everything off about everything we are.
Yeah.
We're too white, we're too this, we're too that. What attracted you to us in the first place?
These are actually mostly people who haven't come to this country. They're people who've always been here.
This is your DEI lot.
They need to be deported as well.
Yeah, it's the sort of guilty middle classes that are coming up with all the problems.
Guardian reading, lentil munching, frigging...
But I At a time when you can't say thanks, Barry. But if you're working...
It's all right, the medication's wearing off. We're going back to the home in a bit, all right? 10 minutes.
Nurse!
Yes, he's out of bed again.
Yeah.
At a time where you can't say, like black sheep and things like that, they get banned in B&Q and other places.
Right.
And yet you can redefine the word whiteness to effectively mean systemic racism.
Yeah.
It's not right, is
no.
it?
And presumably they'll be doing courses in it. If you go to the London Museum, you can probably research the problem of systemic whiteness.
Embedded whiteness they were banging on about. Yeah, so I'd like to go and research my embedded whiteness. But on this note, you see, tragically, we have loads of teenagers murdering each other in London. And they are, last year, exclusively black or brown-faced. Yeah. So will they talk about the embedded blackness of people who are stabbing each other,
I shouldn't think they can do that, no, because that would be racist, you see. Would it?
Would it? But to use embedded whiteness is not.
No, of course not. No.
Okay.
No, it's completely different.
To identify someone's embedded blackness would be incredibly whiteness of you. I think that's what the word means now.
Yeah.
But the literature is also saying, make sure you're able to, and everyone else can turn up as the authentic self. Well, most people's authentic self is what? Wearing loungewear at home, watching telly. You don't turn up to work like that. And also looking at hierarchical structures, which I think is a white thing. I'm not sure why, but I think it's somehow connected in the literature that museum has printed, saying, you know, think about the hierarchy. Well, I'm afraid in a lot of workplaces, there needs to be some sort of hierarchy.
Right.
So people know what they're doing, when they're doing it. And for safety, for visitor enjoyment, it's a museum, someone needs to curate it. It's almost like this madness of somehow race is coming into running a museum.
Right. Yeah.
But every race has had a system of hierarchy. Surely, every society that develops has a hierarchy to it.
Somebody's in charge.
That's what's
I mean, there might have been one or two, you know, anarchic groups that sort of existed in Berlin in the 1960s or something, where nobody was in charge. Yeah. But you know, I mean, that doesn't really work, does it?
No.
Somebody's got to be in charge.
Hierarchy just naturally develops everywhere. Even bees do it, to quote a song.
Do they?
Yeah.
Right. Okay, I'll take your word for that.
Bees do it.
Bees do it.
Even educated fleas do it.
Yeah.
What's that smell?
Yeah.
Oh, it's me.
It's you.
No.
We're going to... It's all right, don't worry. Mike's got
He's
one
not doing
more
well
bit
today.
and then we're going, all right?
We're nearly right at the end, and we could have done this one first, because I think it's going to be the winner. But, I mean, what do I know? I mean, there's a hierarchical
It's your show.
There's a hierarchical structure here, and I get to pick the winner. But it's coming up next, and it's a former member of the royal family.
Live from London, it's Plank of the Week with Mike Graham.
Welcome back to Plank of the Week. It is the final section of the show where I give you my second nomination, and of course we then pick a winner. But as we did last week, we gave a special mention to Justice Hoyle last week, even though they weren't nominated because they've decided to give up protesting. So we might keep this as a feature of honourable mention. And today's honourable mention is a hawk. This is a bird of prey that lives in a little village just outside of Luton in Bedfordshire. And we're going to show you a video in a minute of this hawk because it keeps attacking people. It's attacked more than 50 people, right, over the course of the last few days and weeks. And nobody knows where it came from.
Nope.
Nobody knows why it's so angry. And nobody knows why it only attacks men either. Some people have suggested it might be, you know, a woman getting her revenge on somebody or other, which is possible.
What, an angry bird?
An angry bird. Have a look at this.
With attacks reportedly on the rise, what began as a rather amusing tale of harassment by a hawk isn't so funny for villagers anymore. We were filming with Jim Hewitt as he made his way to the shop this morning. The hawk swooped. Jim gave us permission to show the damage done to his head because he believes the bird has to go by any means necessary.
And so the poor guy at the end there, covered in blood, I mean, he gets sent out by the TV crew.
We were talking to him, but we didn't have time to warn him. He was about to have his head bitten off.
They actually said, why don't you walk over there and see whether the bird comes for you?
They should send a hawk on holiday to Birmingham. Yeah. Then he can tackle some of them cat-sized rats.
I think it's remote control. Be good. I think it's somebody with like a drone. I think it's a drone.
You don't think it's a real hawk?
I'm not saying it's the Chinese, but I think it could be something to do with Russia and Trump.
Goodness me.
I think it would be a big conspiracy theory.
Yeah, you may well be. Anyway, watch this space because there's going to be a lot more heard from about this hawk. Because some people want to kill it, other people want to, save it. It's a typical British story. Anyway, so my final nomination has got to be the Herbert formerly known as Prince Harry.
Well done, you've won. That's it, we're all going back.
You'll have been following the story in the papers this week where Sophie Chandorka, who was the boss of the charity that he founded 20-odd years ago, sent to Bali in memory of his own mother. It was supposed to be to help AIDS victims and children in Africa, supposed to help people out of poverty. He's completely thrown her to the wolves. She's been on television talking about how awful he is, what a bully. There they are together at a polo match. And, of course, this is the famous polo match where Meghan, Mrs. Harry, pushed her out of the way so that she could stand next to him when he was given the cup.
I played in that game.
Yeah, did you win?
Scored a belter.
Brilliant.
Yeah, 30
absolutely.
yarder, top bins.
Yeah. Now, let's have a look at what she said to Sky News this week, because this woman is quite formidable, and I think she's going to be the ending doing of old Harry. Have a look.
What you're essentially saying is that the Duke of Sussex is guilty of harassment and bullying and improper conduct in the governance of a charity.
At some point on Tuesday, Prince Harry authorised the release of a damaging piece of news to the outside world without informing me, or my country directors, or my executive director. And can you imagine what that attack has done for me, on me, and the 540 individuals in the Centre Valley organisations and their family? That is an example of harassment and bullying at scale.
And he has not answered any of these accusations, has he?
It's really interesting. They made a big thing, didn't they? We shouldn't listen to royal sources. They haven't said a word. No. There was one royal source. That lady's not only formidable, but for me, let's just cut to the chase, the elephant in the room. Why did they leave the United Kingdom? What do they accuse our royal family of? Systematic racism and bullying and harassment. Lo and bloody behold, both of them in a short space of time. It's a woman of colour who's very, very successful, who ain't going to take this line down. She'll blow him out of the water.
And hoisted their own petard.
Absolute
and of course,
end.
and you're right to say that.
It.
Yeah, and you're right to say that they vowed they would always speak out for themselves, and they wouldn't use sources.
Not heard a word.
You know, that bloke Scobie's disappeared off the face of the earth. Remember him?
Scooby-Doo.
Scooby-Doo. He used to always be speaking for them and whatever they were doing. But I mean, you know, they've now started leaking once again into various different publications. And unbelievably, one of the things that sources close to Harry and Meghan have said is that they think she's playing the race card, which is pretty ridiculous, isn't it, Rebecca?
Also, they hate the press.
Yeah, right.
If you hate the press as much as they both seem to detest them, why are you puppeteering it, playing it, leaking sources? And I think Harry is very much... They very like being the victim, those two, don't they? And sometimes I think it's justified and sometimes it's completely not justified at all. But the problem is that we're all entitled to be victims. We're all entitled to be victim and to be a bully. We can all be both things. But Harry and Meghan are so, particularly Harry, is so fixated on victim mode. So fixated on it. He can't possibly see that somebody else might be a victim and he might be the perpetrator.
But he's behaved very badly, I think, in this whole scene because basically as soon as he found out there was a problem, not only with the fundraising and not only with the fact that she didn't like the fact that he was using Meghan as a kind of battering ram to try and get donors to give money, you know, instead of actually fixing the problem, he just gave up, threw his hands up in the air and said, well, I'm resigning.
Poor old Harry, right? He's made some bad decisions in his life, hasn't he?
He has.
He could be living in a mansion, never have to put his hand in his pocket, surrounded 24 hours a day by some of the best protection teams in the world. He'd have his bed turned down for him at night. He'd have toothpaste put on his toothbrush for him. And he gave all that away to go and have some California grass.
No, didn't he? Gave it away because he was whipped.
Yes, he was. And he still
completely fell for an absolute fraud, and she's done him.
But he has got his own autonomy. Like, he's doing a lot of this.
I'm not trying to be rude. I think this was a woman who wrapped him around his little finger, but I think he has become almost a mirror image of her. I think they're as despicable as each other.
Sophie Chandorka said that one of the first signs that there was a problem was after that polo match, which she attended without telling anyone. She turned up with Serena Williams without telling anyone she was turning up, which obviously, if you're putting an event on, makes it a lot more difficult for the security and all the rest of it. She then pushes her out of the way, and then Harry makes a phone call to her to say, you need to put out a statement saying that Meghan didn't do anything wrong, and actually you're all really, really great friends. She said, I'm not doing it. So I mean, it's clear that there are things that she gets him to do for her in order to access whatever she wants to get access to.
I was at that event, and let me tell you, most people were talking about my goal.
Yeah, I'm sure.
That was most of the conversation.
Yeah,
They'd never seen a goal
Can
like
you wrap
it.
this? Because the medications now, it's just ludicrous.
It's definitely... We'll give him another cream egg. Yeah,
Come on.
that'll maybe shut
Are we
him
all
up,
right?
for a while.
all right?
So, I mean, I think, you know, as much as we've got plenty of really good ones here today, I mean, I quite like the... even though we don't know who the toddler is, I think that's quite a good one.
I
Ed
love
Davey on the hobby
Hertfordshire
horses.
Council.
Hertfordshire Council, Hertfordshire Police as well are pretty bad. I mean, I'm thinking of giving it to Harry just because he's made such a dog's breakfast of all of this. But I'd be happy to give it to... I'd be happy to give it to Hertfordshire Police. Do you think Hertfordshire Police get it?
Well, I think it's hard.
I think it's Hertfordshire Police, despite...
Harry. I don't want... No, you're not... I suppose to send him back to the home. You've won. Would you like to
tell
win?
Tell him that. The winner begins with H. That's all I'll say.
The winner begins with H.
OK, but it's H-A, I'm afraid. Because Bleksley has been so strange today, we're going to not give it to him because it might go to his head. So, instead, we're going to give it to Prince Harry, who hasn't won it for ages. Well done, Prince Harry. Plank of the week. Sorry, Peter. But thank you to Jeremy Kyle, Peter Bleksley, thank you to Rebecca Twomey, and of course to Steve and Alan. We'll be holding you later for detention because you were nearly late for the show. But this is Plank of the Week. We'll see you next time.